Welcome, everybody, and good afternoon to our February 2024 Coaches Playoff Preview Show, Girls Basketball Edition here today. Jason Zaleski, Dan Ross, Katie Lecton on production, and we've got a whole host of coaches that we will be talking to today. Let's go through those. I think that's really the most important part of a Coaches Playoff Preview Show are the coaches. And scheduled today is Marshfield's Taylor Varsho, Spash's Janelle McCarville, Columbus Catholic's Eric Wilson, Assumption Catholic's Ryan Klein, Mosinee's Scott Melops, Greenwood's Trevor Wuethrich, Pittsville's Jason Knott, and show me that list again, Katie. I forgot our very last one. Coach Listo, Kimberly's Dave Listo, a late addition into today's talk. We ran across Dave on the X.com machine, and he had some strong words about the seeding process, so we're going to talk to Dave about his seed. And all that coming up and more, all kinds of commentary from Dan and I. One guarantee that I will make, Dan, I'd like you to sign this pledge with me, is we will say all of these schools' names correctly.
We will sign on to that? Best. We will do our best.
Chanot is where one, that was a new one for us, Chanot.
I know that.
Yeah, there's a list of them there.
Antigo, Cudahy.
Yeah.
Balla.
Some of them were fun. Listen, here's the offer. I think Dan will go with me on this that we'd like to make. This goes for the association and to the folks at Gray Media. We are available to help. So let us help. We're available for that. We would do that. I know I would. I've been in the cozy confines of the association before, and I think I've been helpful while I've been there. I'm happy to help. I'm also happy to help our media partners around the state as they go through, 500 some schools. And if you're not from here, these names are kind of strange. But we can help.
One thing that I can't guarantee is that we'll have the actual brackets by the end of the show.
So there was.
They just took Division III down, I believe.
They did. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep it up while it's here, but it may not be valid, I suppose, is what could be the case. So, as many of you know, if not everybody watching, we take a lot of care into the bracket process. There are, I don't know what this is here, 70-some brackets sitting here right now. This was our girls' version 2, our last version we put out on Tuesday of our seed projections. We are very happy of that process. Your investment in our technology was well spent. If you were one that looked ahead of time, you saw back on Tuesday where things stood then. There were games played since Tuesday. There was some movement, and that's to be expected. And we're going to talk about those today. But we're watching the other show, and we got to Division 3 or 4, whichever it was. And we're like, whoa, that's not a team in this division. And then as the show went on, they were announcing pairings that weren't accurate.
Yeah, the teams were in the wrong sectional.
And so what has ultimately happened here is that the official pairings for most divisions are still TBD. As they are going through, I'll just say Lamira was one that we saw slotted in Division 4. I made a big note on these brackets. I'm like, holy crikey, we got a whole bracket wrong, but we didn't. It turned out that Lamira accidentally, I'm sure, no doubt about it, was put in Division 4. They belong in Division 3, so there's some work being done across town right now to get everything now put in there accurately. But first off, put teams in the proper divisions, and then you go through and look where the math had them slotted and then put them back in. So that work, 3 hours now post-show, is ongoing.
Mr. Norbert Durst correctly picked Lamira to win Division 4.
Well, that would be a great pick, right?
Yeah.
Because a Division 3 team playing in Division 4, they're gonna slam right through.
Yeah, and a good Division 3
team. He picked them too, huh?
He did, yeah.
Norbert usually knows that was wrong, but perhaps on live TV you're just going along with it. They asked you a question. Who do you like in Division 4? Yeah. Well, I like Lamira in that. Yeah. In this,
I really like
group.
Lamira in this bracket.
In this bracket, they will be, and actually the for a time you're saying maybe they're still doing some work and taking them up and down.
I'm just
That's
looking
fine.
Here on.
Nope, I'm sure what you're saying is correct, but just I want to finish up this topic here, and we'll move on because they will be accurate here eventually. We wait We await WIAA.wi.org for all those corrections to be made. The last I saw, Lemira slotted in Division III as the 4 seed, where we had them on Tuesday against the number 5 Lakeside Lutheran. That's what at last update.
Yeah,
More
so
updates coming, you're telling me.
It was surprising to see them in Division 4.
Very.
For sure. And we were freaking out because all of our brackets were wrong. We're like, we don't usually miss.
Not like that. I mean, it was an entire group that we had the one, and then everything else was okay. So they're getting it straightened out, and we will keep you abreast of that situation here.
We're trying to figure out where Milwaukee Juneau was. They just weren't announced.
Yeah, they were unfortunately skipped, and so now there's some work. So you can imagine now, those, we do these brackets all the time, and you have to totally wipe them empty and then start building them back up again. And it takes some time, and they're still taking that time. But yeah, an entire team was accidentally missed. A mistake.
Not the first time, but the most important thing is that we do get the right brackets out.
Yeah.
And if it's 11 o'clock this morning or it's 3 o'clock this afternoon, it doesn't matter a whole lot probably in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, it's a really big moment to have the schools announced and to have people from Madison or Milwaukee who are announcing your team name, your school pride.
Yeah.
Even if they're not always accurate sounding on the air. Antigo.
Yeah, so let us help you. Let us help you, Gray Media. Let us help you, because we will.
Owen Withy. It's two.
Yeah.
It is 2 towns.
Winnethy.
Yeah.
Not it.
Winnethy.
Now, I think, though, right, if I'm a member of that school district in some way, shape, or form, I might ride with Winnethy. I mean, all we do is Winnethy around here. And the Owen Withy Blackhawks are the number 2 seed in Division 5. We'll get to those, too. Okay, let's. We've got our first coach coming up, Marshfield's Taylor Varsho, coming up in about 12 minutes. So stay tuned to that. You can find the whole list of coaches earlier this morning on our Facebook post. We had those out. Also on Instagram, x.com. All the names are out there. I went through them just a minute ago. Taylor Varsho comes up in now 11 minutes. So before we get to that, Dan, it's not a selection show, right? There's not a committee that's selecting these teams.
Right.
Yet it's a little bit like that. So we talk about things that we see and some opening matchups. I'll just kind of start, and then we can talk about that. And it's a game that just happened on Friday in girls basketball. Again, this is all girls basketball talk here today. In the Wisconsin Valley Conference, it was Stevens Point visiting Marshfield, and we're leading up to Coach Varsho coming in here in about 10 minutes' time. A Stevens Point win on Friday night would have been outright conference champion.
Didn't happen.
That did not happen. And Marshfield, not only did they win, they put a signature on that. They put an exclamation point on that win in the Fieldhouse in Marshfield, and it was a fantastic win. Congratulations again to the Marshfield Tigers. Now each of those schools now have one game left this week, both against teams that they would be heavily favored to win if there were such a thing.
Now, I do know that we don't have co-champions on Zaleski Sports.
I don't like it.
And we have gone all the way down. And we
use a list of tiebreakers.
Yeah, we have already established that the last tiebreaker is not a coin toss. It is Zaleski's preference.
Oh.
Marshfield alum.
Great. Well, then you know where I'm going.
Yeah, the Tigers
if it comes
are
down
in pole
to that,
position.
Marshfield would be my conference champ. If that's truly the ruling, if I get to make that decision, then crown them right now. Marshfield Tigers, conference champs. Both teams need to win their last game.
Yeah.
Coming up this week, and then we would have a talk about it. If anybody slips up, then one will have the outright conference title.
And what do they win? A splash on the screen that says conference champions.
Yep. You get a splash on the screen. You get your team picture or something near it on Instagram, and then in your field house or in your trophy case, you get another fabric year 2024 stitched onto the big flag or something.
That's true.
Yep.
I mean, head-to-head, they won point differential, right? There you go.
I think that's a pretty clear one. That's got to be a tiebreaker before I get involved. That one, right?
True.
Point differential. Speaking of conference champs, later on you get to see a shirt that I'm wearing today. Conference champs. Yep, that's coming up. All kinds of cool things in the show. So Stevens Point, the 5 seed last Tuesday or so, 6 days ago, we showed Stevens Point as a 6, so they were able to build that resume a little bit, even though they lost, to Marshfield. Maybe a little bit of a bump there, not much, but a little bit perhaps compared to Superior, who comes in now as the 6th seed. And so for Stevens Point, what that means is a game against a friendly face in the way of Wausau West to open playoff action in Division 1, for these games anyway, on Friday the 23rd. So 2 Fridays yet before they start their playoff run. That seems like a long time.
Yeah, a lot of buys in Division 1.
Yep,
yeah.
Pretty much everybody gets a bye in Division 1. So Stevens Point, compared to Superior, bolstered their case since last Tuesday. They move ahead of the Spartans to the 5 seed, Superior to the 6. What that means for Stevens Point, a little bit easier game, quotes, but easier game against Wausau West. And now Superior's got to take on a pretty active Appleton East Fox Valley team. And I'm sure the Panthers are happy for that. Marshfield, on the other hand, even though bolstered their resume and they beat their conference rival Stevens Point, they stayed firm on the 7 line the whole way through. Yeah. And that's been the case for weeks. They've been sitting on that 7 line. So there you go. Milwaukee Juneau, I'm being told, was the team that was left out.
What did I say?
I don't know, but it doesn't matter. Milwaukee Juneau was the team that's got to get reinserted into Division 4. So we still await those Division 4 brackets along with the Division 2. I don't know what the delay was and with 5. 2, but must have missed something. I'm showing 5 are in.
Okay. So it's just not linked from the WIAA site. That's all.
Yeah. Well, maybe I've got special access.
Maybe you do.
I don't know. To look at Division 5, of course, around here you got the number 1 seed Pacelli.
Congratulations, Pacelli Cardinals.
Pacelli, for those that aren't inclined to do a little research before they go on air. The other one, and we've got both Pittsville and Greenwood, Jason Knott and Trevor Wuethrich coming up. They're actually they're on the hammer today, closing up our show with us a little bit later on this afternoon.
You're going to have them on at the same time and really try to ramp this up?
I think there's going to be a lot of hype anyway, but that's a good idea, Dan. If you would have told me about that yesterday, then maybe we could have had that happen. But both of them will come on later today. I was doing a little bit of look at that before we went on here. And, I did a write-up about this as a case study in our seed math and just in general how the seed process works, what goes into it. And I thought it was a pretty good read. And, I'm sure I'm the one who wrote it, but I thought, I got some feedback. A lot of teams appreciated that, especially these two. What I wrote about last week, it looked like, to me, with my non-mathematical eye, is that Greenwood had a real chance to get to that 2 line. We'll mention that razor thin as it turned out. And I mentioned it in the article, just razor thin for sure. Yeah. I really thought though Greenwood had a real shot at getting there based on a couple of things, and Greenwood did what they could. They had won their last couple of games. They beat Columbus Catholic last week, took their win percent to 728. Pittsville lost to Pacelli on a buzzer beater on that same night, and then beat Wild Rose a couple days later. But just in my kind of glancing at the math, I didn't think that was going to hold them there. I didn't think, and it's because of this, and it's what I wrote about. Still today, this is true as of this very moment. Pittsville's opponent win percentage. So this gets into strength of schedule, which is a beefy part of the whole formula. Pittsville's opponent's win percentage, 459 compared to Greenwood's 519. So advantage Greenwood there. The opponents that Pittsville beat have a win percentage of 389 compared to Greenwood's 434. So it looked to me, to my untrained eye, that, boy, Greenwood's got a real shot at getting up there, even though Greenwood does trail by almost 10 basis points, 10 percentage points in their own win percentage. I thought that was enough in their strength of schedule to get them there. But, Dan, I mean, they came so close, you can't even see the difference between the two numbers. I'm going to go ahead and say those numbers because this is just really fascinating to me. Pittsville's seed score, that's our interpretation of the formula and the culmination of all these different factors turn into an overall percent. We just call it the seed score for good round math. Pittsville's seed score 5.783. Greenwood 5.783. 7. Am I reading this right here? 577. So 578 to 577.
Yeah.
One teeny tiny decimal dust of a molecule.
But you know what? We got it.
Yeah. Well, we did, and that's what the math proved out to be.
Yeah.
But just really fascinating. And so if you're Greenwood and you're wondering, well, what else could we have done? Well, maybe nothing. I'm sure you 728 win percentage, you win a couple more games, probably, one more game probably did put you over the hump. So you may look back and say, if we just would have beat that one team. But the other thing, though, that goes into this, I mentioned the opponents you defeat, what is their win percentage? I think if Greenwood just would have had somebody they beat win one more game,
probably, yeah,
that would have been enough. So they played whatever, let's just say 20 games that they played. So you had 20 opponents. And then we're talking about 400 games took place outside of your games. And of those 400, if one more would have won, you might have been the 2. And we're talking about this, of course, because the 2 seed, Pittsville, gets to host that regional final. Greenwood, the visitor.
Yeah. And 2 of the really good, feel-good stories of the year in our area. Pittsville and Greenwood have been on hard times the last many years, right? And to have both of those teams have their best seasons in a really long time, I hope they do play each other in a regional final. That'd be a great game. Well,
they are staring down the barrel at it. We'll talk more about that game and that potential game later on in today's show when we talk to Pittsville's Jason Knott and Greenwood's Trevor Wuethrich. We're just under 2 minutes from our first coach today. What'd I say? We've got 7 or 8 coming on today. What a time to be alive.
I love it. We have said on the live show Wednesday afternoons, 4 p.m. Central. Check your local listings. We have talked that this is my favorite time of the year.
Yeah.
Right? And it goes so fast because all of regionals, we go from 128 teams down to 16 in Tuesday, Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So in 5 days, we lose almost all the teams. And the seasons are over.
It's a little sad.
Right now, it's like spring training in baseball. Everybody has a chance today.
I would consider skipping watching the Super Bowl later on today and just going for 7 straight hours on this. I would consider it, I said. My team's not playing, so it's like, whatever.
My team hasn't won one in like 37 years or something.
I watched the win, though. I watched the game against the Patriots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I watched it on TV.
Patriots led 3-0 in that game, and that's about where it ended.
Yeah, if there was a running clock, it may have been a running clock game, if there was such a thing back then. So, okay, I think, Katie, we're okay to get Taylor lined up for today's show. Again, the Marshfield Tigers coming off an impressive home win on Friday night over the Spanish Panthers, 53-37, Dan. That's a whooping. I don't care who you are.
Great win.
That's a whooping.
Yeah, fantastic win. The best win in the Valley this year.
And it was back just on January 29th, so about 2 weeks ago, over right up the road here. Stevens Point with a 1-point win. Marshfield had ball in hand twice. A chance. They had a chance. Final 10 seconds, just not able to get the biscuit in the basket, as it turns out. So that's what. As we're, like I said, coming down the stretch here, Marshfield's going to play Wausau West. They're at Wausau West on February 15th, coming up here in just 4 days' time. So what's that put us on Thursday? If I know how to read the calendar.
Valentine's Day is Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah, Valentine's Day. Yeah. By the way, Fleet Farm's got all your favorite candies and treats for Valentine's over at Fleet Farm. We are joined now by Marshfield Tigers head coach Taylor Varsho. Coach, congratulations on a great season so far. If you don't mind, I'd like to start back on Friday night. We just got done talking about it here a little bit, but what a turnaround from your game at Stevens Point from 2 weeks ago to the game on Friday. What do you attribute that big turnaround to between those two games?
Yeah, I think a healthy squad. We had all players, but maybe one that wasn't, full go, ready to go. Having both Ayana and Rayella back, both 2 seniors that have been with me for the last 3 years. Obviously transferring over after their freshman year. But I think just going back to like true senior leadership, Obviously, they were a huge part of that. Obviously, practicing too as well. But I just think, we having more bodies to sub in, as well as, just being able to compete on the home floor. I couldn't ask for a better outcome, and we truly, those two truly made the difference in the both games.
And because of the performance from your girls on Friday night, you now go to Wausau West on Thursday. A win there guarantees at least a share of the conference title. Just tell us about that, as you're able to have a shot on Thursday to end the season as conference champions.
Yeah, I think that's always, everyone's goal to start off the season is to win their conference, and then to get a home playoff game. So really excited for the opportunity for the girls and our fans, as well as our community.
Talking to Marshfield Tigers girls basketball coach Taylor Varo. Coach, you mentioned the playoffs. Let's talk about that next. And we have to start that talk. Back on December 21st, you visited the Holman Vikings, came home with a 7-point win. Now you'll host them 2 Fridays from now. What did you learn in that game that you think maybe will still be there when you see them in a week and a half?
Yeah, I think, for Holman in general, they're a great team. They're very well coached. They have some height advantage on us. But I truly believe that, having a full squad, we had a full squad when we played them first time. They're down a couple players. The first time they played them, she's back, but now they're down another starter. So, we'll see. We'll just, play it possession by possession, but it's everything that leads up to next Friday. Practicing, doing the little things right. And then just worrying about, us in general. I know Holman's a great team, but we got to be able to defend how we've been defending the last couple games, as well as putting the ball in the hoop as well. So I think we've got many different weapons, and, we got to play a team game. As you know, basketball is a team sport. And, when one person doesn't know the assignment or the matchup, everything else falls apart. So, we got to get all 16 of us, ready to go, and really excited to have a home game, host a home game, to play in front of our community and our fans, as well as, we're looking for a great matchup against Holman.
Coach, I've got Dan Ross next to me. He's enjoyed watching your games from afar this year. I know he's got a question for you.
Hi, Coach. Dan Ross here. The girls are playing really well. What do you think, from a team perspective, what have you improved on the most that you were kind of iffy going into the season, but it turned out to be a lot better than what you thought?
Yeah, I think, obviously some of our losses came from, very good ball clubs, obviously ranked opponents. When you play the Kimberleys and the Ninas, and the Hudsons and the Memorials, they're a good team, and they're going to bring your best effort every night. And I truly believe that, we can compete with those teams. Obviously, those were losses earlier in the season. Eau Claire Memorial was probably a couple weeks ago now, but when we play team basketball and we play, whoever the five are on the floor and bring the energy, we're a pretty tough team to compete against. So, really, I think the biggest thing is just playing team basketball. And I think that's what we improved on the most, making the extra pass. And I always go back to, doing the dirty work for the team, the rebounds, the passing, the assists that sometimes doesn't always make it, in a newspaper, or, doesn't always make it in the headlines, but doing those things, those are going to separate you from other individuals and other teams as well. But I think when we collectively have, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players that all want to do those things, those little things, it makes us for a tough team to beat. And, unfortunately we've fallen, in those traps of not doing those little things when we play, great opponents. But I think now we're playing the best basketball, and as a coach and my coaching staff probably would agree, you want to be playing your best basketball right now. And I feel like the last 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, we have shown that. We've shown that we can compete, and I'll go against anybody with my squad. So I'm really excited for a matchup, but it's playoff basketball, and obviously we gotta win out next Thursday. And that's truly the first step, is how are we going to come out next Thursday? We know who we're going to play the following Friday. But I truly believe the first playoff game starts on Thursday.
Yeah. And, because we're in Division I, It is a long time between games, right? Sometimes teams actually play that Friday or Saturday in crossover games, but in Division I, you have more than a week. What does practice look like for that week?
Yeah, good question. I think, just focusing on everything we've been doing since day one, passing, catching, obviously shooting, but it goes back to those little fundamental things that sometimes, other teams look over, but also knowing the scouting report, knowing who the shooters are on our opponent, but also, knowing what they do defensively. Are they going to change it up? So all those little detail things, but I also think, taking care of our bodies, taking care of our health, both physically and mentally, and getting our girls prepared for that first playoff run. So, it goes back to the sleep, nutrition, hydration, all those little things that add up to big things coming next Friday. So really excited for our opponents and excited to host Holman next Friday.
Coach Jason Zaleski back here. We'll wrap it up with this. What did you? I'm a big fan of learning, and I learn stuff every day, usually from mistakes that I make in the past. You had a 21-point win against Wausau West a month ago. How do you keep the girls focused on obviously getting the win versus maybe them thinking that was kind of easy last time?
Yeah, I just go back to last Friday, when we played point, it was every 4 minutes, win every 4 minute increments. And if I needed a timeout and burn a timeout, I would. But it goes to, this is playoff time, this is playoff basketball, and, you got to have your minds right. But truly understanding that, we're going to bring our best basketball, whoever we play, and really engaging and just being the best team on the floor every single night. So, I think, you can look at it as, we beat them by 20 points, but every possession matters, and it's going to come down to the little things. Who's going to be the tougher team at the end of the night, and who's going to attack the hoop and play phenomenal defense. So, really excited about next Thursday. Obviously, we have a chance to, tie if everything goes right for the conference. Just really excited about this next couple weeks with the girls and really engage in getting them better.
Coaches, Marshfield Tigers visit Wausau West on Thursday the 15th. Get up to Wausau West and cheer them in person if you can't. It is a game we will carry live here on Zaleski Sports. Coach, best of luck on Thursday and then into the playoffs.
Thank you.
All right, there you go, Dan. Coach 1, up and done. On we go. But what did you learn about the Marshfield Tigers in that phone call?
Yeah, just thinking about this overall, right? And I feel like Marshfield maybe a little bit jaded in how they're seated.
Could be.
Spash is ahead of them, Superior's ahead of them, and I see you have stuff written down here because this will be brought up, right? Because the 5, 6, 7 were very, very, very close.
Yeah.
And it's hard to imagine that a team like Marshfield, who's going very good chance, nothing's certain, to be conference champions and probably played the best out of all the teams in the conference, even though it is maybe going to be a tie at the end here. Marshfield's playing really well, and that's a dangerous 7 seed. And I know that we aren't going to be projecting things today necessarily. But if Marshfield wins the home game against Holman, and like you said, they've already won on the road at Holman earlier on in the year, that's going to be a tough game for Neenah. And Neenah's a good team. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to be an easy game for him.
Yeah, I agree. And, the Superior slotted in between Stevens Point and Marshfield Tigers. Yeah, they had a rough stretch. Coach mentioned, some of the injuries, but had kind of a rough stretch towards the end of the year and into the first of the year. And I was looking earlier, just the win percentage difference between Stevens Point and Marshfield. Stevens Point had the edge in every category in strength of schedule.
Yeah.
Not by a mile, but you had the edge in every category, and that enough to carry them all the way up to the 5 line, being told now. Speaking of Stevens Point, we are joined by Spash Panthers head coach Janelle McCarville. Coach had practice earlier today. Let's start there. How did practice go today?
Practice was good, kind of shake the rust off from the Friday night game we had. And, get our minds focused for the end of the season run that needs to be made here with the last 2 games.
Talked to Coach Marshfield's Taylor Varo right before you, Janelle. We talked about, for you, on the scoreboard anyway, it looked like quite a difference between 2 weeks ago and Friday night. So what do you attribute that to?
Couple things. I think the game was officiated a little different than we've seen in a while. We had foul trouble where I have multiple starters missing time that they normally aren't missing and throwing people into positions that maybe they're not used to or accustomed to. That's lower on the list. Marshfield came out and, socked us, and I guess we ultimately didn't recover, which, again, allowed them to pull away. And then once they got a little bit of a lead, they kind of just created a more extended offense and waste clock a little bit. And then we tried to pressure up and, they got past us, created easy things, hit more shots than they did in the first game. All the credit to them. They did what they needed to do to get the win.
As we go, though, conference championship, or at least a share of it, still on the horizon for you and the girls. That a Thursday game at home against Wisconsin Rapids. But before you get there, you are at Eau Claire Memorial, and as I take a look at your playoff bracket, you being the 5 seed, Memorial being the 4, it turns out that's also a regional final preview. How do you treat a game like that in this near term, knowing that soon in the playoffs you might have to face them again?
I don't know. It's very hard for coach to come up with that answer. I'm still thinking about it. So if you guys got any suggestions, you let me know.
Don't show a lot. That's what I would say.
Exactly that. Any given Sunday, game's got to be played. I think it's good that we get to go there and see them. I think it's unfortunate that it's such a late game in the season, and then we got to turn around and if both teams advance as panned out, that we'd face each other again in a week time span. So a little different in that aspect, but ultimately excited for the opportunity. They're a great team at home. So again, it's a test. We just got done being tested by Marshfield. Again, it's how do we recover, how do we advance, and how do we handle the pressure and whatnot going forward. So really looking forward to the challenge, and I think the girls are in the same boat as I am.
Talking to Stevens Point Panthers head coach Janelle McCarville, whose Panthers are the 5 seed in the upcoming playoffs. They will host 12 Wausau West on next week, Friday, so 2 Fridays from now, a friendly opponent there. Coach, I've got Dan Ross with me. He's been able to enjoy your games. He's got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Coach, did the team get together to watch the selection show today?
We did. We had a practice, and in the middle of the practice, we got together. Well, actually, I delayed the live streaming of it, and we had our practice, didn't tell the girls the seating or anything, and then got together at the end and watched it together and kind of just made a thing out of it, similar to NCAA College March Madness. Little gathering, talk about it, some excitement, and then good job, we did our work, and then we went home.
And were the girls excited with the 5 seed?
Very excited, very happy with the 5 seed. I think they, as in myself, were also a little surprised. Knowing our strength of schedule was tough and we played well against certain teams, I thought it might help us, but I can't lie. I was a little surprised at the 5 seed, that we hung on to the 5 seed. I thought it would be a 6 or 7, to be honest.
Yeah, and in the 5 seed, you draw Wausau West, and that would be a 3rd time against them. From a coaching perspective, would you rather play a team a 3rd time, or would you rather play somebody who is relatively new that might not know you inside and out?
I'm not so much worried about them knowing us inside and out. It's just more fun to play somebody else. Excitement to a new team, new challenge, things like that. We see Wausau West every year in the Valley, twice a year. That extra game is a little less fun in some aspects. Of course, it's playoffs and, all that goes out the window at this point. But it would be kind of fun to play somebody new. It's always hard to beat a team 3 times. I've learned that as a collegiate athlete and professional on top of it, that it's tough to beat a team 3 times. So we will definitely have our work cut out for us.
Coach Jason back here. We'll wrap up with just a couple of things. One is Marshfield. We're talking now about back in conference play and A win against Wisconsin Rapids coming up later in the week would guarantee you at least a share of that conference. Of course, you might be a Wausau West fan on that same night as they play Marshfield. Would you ever give any advice to an opposing coach like that?
Yeah, score more points than the other team. We'll be watching it, but, I'm confident Marshfield is going to, handle business. They're a great team. They play well on the road. Wausau West is, if there was a team, Wausau West is a team that could beat them. I can say that. They play a 2-3 zone, keep Cray inside. Again, depending on if you hit or don't hit outside shots, things can develop from there. So a lot of things come down to it. Wish them both luck. Hope everybody stays healthy, and we're keeping our eye on our own bobber at this point and focused on the teams that we have in front of us.
Fishing analogy. I didn't know we were going to get that today, but we did, and I'm very happy for it. Coach, the 5 seed Stevens Point Panthers head coach Janelle McCarville, best of luck this week and into the playoffs next week.
Awesome. Do appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, keep an eye on your own bobber.
Yeah, I like that.
That is gold, Jerry. That's gold.
Gold, Jerry. It's gold.
Interesting to talk to those coaches back to back. They've got a lot in common, obviously being in conference, but being tied for first place in conference on top of everything else. And, you watch your own bobber, but there's no doubt those two are watching each other too.
Yeah, and looking at the bracket, I assume that both would win this week, tie for the conference title.
It sure looks like it.
I really like both opening round matchups for both Marshfield and Spash. Marshfield has already beat Holman. Marshfield's a different team today than what they were early on in the season when Marshfield played Holman. And, of course, we have Spash playing Wausau West. They're going to be a heavy favorite in that game. So we're going to have our two big local D1 teams that are on top of the conference playing for a regional plaque next Saturday.
I mean, it does look like it. It is all pointed that way. In that particular group, we should note Hortonville is the 1 seed, Hudson is the 2, and those
are good teams.
Yeah, and Marshfield Spash, whether it was this year or over last year, familiar with those teams. Everybody kind of familiar with each other, and we'll see. We're very much looking forward to that. We are going to move to Division 5 at this time, and get my bracket ready here. There we go. As we bring in now Columbus Catholic head coach Eric Wilson. Coach, congratulations on a fine season. You come in now playoffs as the 6th seed. Tell us about that as a culmination of the work you and the girls have put in on the year.
Yeah, thanks, Jason. Thanks for the kind words. This year, obviously, it's been kind of, in my mind, a tale of three seasons. We started out pretty good. We had a rough stretch in the middle, and I think we're playing really good basketball right now. We had some injuries and some illness in between there. I think we're playing really well right now. Looking forward to what the opportunity brings going forward in the tournament. You do have a chance to get tuned up coming up here on Thursday. You've got a Cloverbelt crossover, and if I have my information right, it will take on McDonald. Tell us just first, before we preview that game, just the opportunity to get a game in this week and keep the girls active. Sure. We're going to actually end up playing Osseo, Jason. So just heads up, that just came out.
Sorry.
Today,
yeah, I had that. I looked at it wrong. Thank you, Coach.
Greenwood, maybe.
No, you're good. All good. I think this week's going to be really good for us. I mean, we had a makeup game last Monday against Spencer. So we played 3 times last week. We played Monday, Tuesday, Friday. Had a long trip to Gilman on Friday night. We had a really rough game, a really good game with Greenwood on Tuesday. So we get a couple days of practice in this week and then go to Osseo and then get ready for the playoffs. So I think having a little bit of time off this week is going to benefit us. Just we got some kids that, are a little banged up, and I think some time off will help that a little bit.
And then with your matchup against Osseo, perhaps you haven't started your scouting yet against the Thunder, but tell us about the opportunity to play in that kind of game, and then what you do know about the Thunder coming in here on Sunday.
Yeah, I think, anytime we go play against a team from the West, the West is a little bit bigger school. They're a D4 school. They got some really good athletes. And I think they're just a really good, well-coached team. The athleticism and some of the size that they have over there will challenge us. And I think it's a good tune-up for us to get ready for the playoffs.
And then help me compare that game to a game I got to see in person a couple weeks ago over at McDonald. Maybe that's where I was getting a little bit messed up. But, a game, especially in that first half, you were able to hang with McDonald and a little bit short-staffed that day. What did that game teach you about your girls come playoff time?
Jason, you're right. I mean, you were over there and you saw we went over with 5 actual varsity girls and players because we had illness and injuries going on. And so what I will tell you is that our kids, when they make up their mind, can play with anybody. What I will say, though, is the teams like McDonald, Fall Creek, some of those teams, Assumptions, they're scary in the way they shoot the ball and the way they handle the ball and the way they put pressure on you. So I think that's a great experience. And I think as we go through with our season, I attribute us probably getting the 6 because we played a gauntlet of a schedule. You played Neillsville twice. We played Pacelli. We played Almond. We played McDonald. We've had a really tough schedule. So I think the girls maybe didn't get the outcomes they wanted, but I think they understand we can play with anybody if we decide that we're going to play our best basketball that night.
Talking to Columbus Catholic basketball coach Eric Wilson. Coach, I've got Dan Ross with me. He's enjoyed watching your team play online, and I know he's got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, congratulations on a great season, Coach. I've been here with Jason for 3-4 years. I want to say a 6 seed is probably the best that we've seen in quite some time. What was most surprising to you as the year went on that you realized that you have a really good group of girls?
I don't know that anything was really surprising. I had them all over the summer as well. I think there's been a couple things throughout the year that have really probably changed our team a little bit. I think Matea Slavsky being out for basketball this year is a huge deal for us. She's just a really good athlete, hasn't played for the last 2 years, and the passion she plays with is contagious. And us not having her for 6 games with an ankle injury really we struggled to kind of replace that. And then I think towards the end of the year right now, the big difference in us is that Courtney Summer is playing like a first-team all-conference kid. She's averaging the last couple of games right around 13, 14 points and 11, 12 rebounds a game. So as we've kind of gone through the season, I think that we've grown. We're not relying so much on the outside shot anymore. We can still shoot it, but when you have an off night, we can go inside. Friday night against Gilman, that was one of the things that we didn't shoot the ball well. We still came out with a victory because we were able to have, some kids get inside, between them, Gracie Wilczek, and then our guards start to drive was a big deal. So I think that's the biggest change I've seen.
We are looking at the bracket in front of us, and the 6-11 game, Northern Lutheran, I don't know a lot about Northern Lutheran. They're not on our network very much. But I can't help but look at a potential second-round game. If you get the opportunity to play Greenwood for a third time, how exciting is that for you and your girls?
I'm not going to lie, Dan. I think I know the girls are probably looking at that. I'm probably the opposite way right now. I want to get through the first round. We talk to the girls a lot about this, and this comes from coaching with Coach Konitsky on the boys' side forever. If you take care of one opportunity in front of you, it gives you another one. And we're going to approach it, starting this Thursday. Let's go have a great game against Osseo. That will get us an opportunity. That next Tuesday, if we take care of that opportunity and take care of business, it gives us another opportunity that's even better. So I think as you go, you know what Greenwood is. They know who we are. But we both have to take care of business next Tuesday in order to worry about that.
Good coach answer, Coach.
Coach Jason back here. We'll wrap up with just a couple things. You mentioned, learning some coaching skills from on the boys' side with Coach Joe Konitsky and others. Now, first-year head coach come playoff time and playoff planning. What are some of the strategies and the learning that you took from Joe to get ready for this first playoff run?
I think the one thing that I would always say that having been with him for 7 years and then having been with Colby before that and been up there is when you get to playoff time, especially in D5, you could play 3 games in a week and just understanding how to prepare for that week, taking the one game at a time, but also having an idea of how you want that week to look if you do get the opportunity to play again. How do you want that to look for the kids? So that you have some sort of schedule ready to go. I think that's a huge thing, especially in D5 with how the playoffs go, because you go Tuesday, Friday, Saturday.
And then lastly, just as far as planning and getting things lined up, we've got the game Thursday against Osseo Fairchild, and then the playoff game on Tuesday. When does the planning begin for the playoff run?
Planning started right now. I mean, when you get to know the opponent, I mean, there's some scouting we can do. I don't think you can ever be too prepared. I think you've got to be a little careful how much information you give to the young ladies you're coaching. But I think as a coaching staff, getting prepared now, so that there's nothing that surprises anybody and you're ready to go. It starts the minute we found the opponent from there.
Columbus Catholic Dons head coach Eric Wilson, best of luck on Thursday. Best of luck playoffs next week.
Hey, thanks, guys. Appreciate the coverage and appreciate your time.
There we go. Those were, there's some coach answers, though, mixed with some genuine thoughts.
Yeah, for sure. You do have to take it one game at a time, right? And really depending on what seed you have and what your bracket looks like. I know that from the past, we were blessed at Newman Catholic to have some top-seeded rankings, number 1, number 2, whatever the case is. We were able to send coaches out to scout potential teams in the second round and the third round, right?
Right.
Now, you do have that because you're a 1 or 2 seed or something, and you feel confident that you can get past the 16.
So you could afford missing somebody on the bench.
Yeah.
A coach. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Or you go the week before and you have somebody scout the 8, someone scout the 9, and then you have someone scout the 4 and the 5 that you might see that Friday night, right? So we have scouting reports already set up, already created, and if you have to throw the number 5 one away, that's okay, right? But Coach was right. You can only give so much information to the ladies. And it's not just a guy-girl thing.
Yeah, to the kids.
To the kids, yeah. And the girls are looking at Greenwood because they know them.
It's fun.
It's fun, and they've lost to them a couple times, and like they want to get at it. I think it was a 3-point game last time.
10 points on the season separated the two. It's pretty close.
Yeah, so Coach has his work cut out for him to keep focused on the number 11 Northern Lutheran, but that Greenwood game, that next Friday, be pretty fun.
The other thing, as we were talking to Coach Wilson from Columbus Catholic, I was looking at the standings or the table, as it's known in some parts of the world, the conference table. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams in that Clover Belt East above 500. I don't know the last time I saw that.
Yeah, usually
that is top heavy.
Yeah, usually it's like the top 2 or 3, and then it kind of falls apart.
Well, usually it's 14-1 or 14-0, 13-1, and maybe an 8 or a 9 wins there, and then everybody else below 500. So, have those teams learned a little bit? Have they benefited from each other where they haven't in the past?
Yeah, I think those teams are just so similar. I think that group of 4, that's Loyal, Greenwood, Columbus, and is that Owen Withey? Who is that?
Owen Withey. Those are the Blackhawks, yeah.
All I see are mascots, so it's hard for me. Whenever those 4 teams play each other, it is a coin flip for the most part.
Yeah.
So that's why they're kind of bundled up. Neelsville, 4-game lead. I would be interested in what Neelsville's Clover Belt East win streak is at.
Well, as far as conference champion, so Colby was conference champion in 2020, but Neelsville is something in the way of like 23 of the past 24 or something like that. Loyal may have had one in 17 or 18.
When they won state?
Yeah, they maybe, but maybe not. It's been quite a run, just a dominant run for the Neelsville Warriors.
Were we talking Neelsville today?
No, Coach Geyer had to be elsewhere today.
Okay.
And but we may see Coach next week anyway. But yeah, quite a run there. You mentioned the coin flip. As we continue talking about Columbus Catholic basketball, they played Loyal to a 3-point game. They played Winnethi to a 3-point game.
Winnethi.
Yep, that was from earlier. If you're just joining us, it's the other folks not knowing.
I would say, do not play the drinking game of taking a drink every time that someone mispronounces a northern team in the state, because...
Well, I did, and look, I started full, and I'm less than half.
I mean, we got halfway through it, and I was just there for the mispronunciations.
Yeah, it was fantastically...
So good.
Fantastically, magically horrible, all at the same time. So a couple of coin flip games there. And Columbus, I was at the game last week when they hosted Greenwood, and a 3-point game, and Columbus had led for 5, 6, maybe 7 minutes deep into the second half. They were in the lead, and Greenwood able to come back, make some free throws down the stretch, but this is it's a different Columbus Catholic team right now. Different than in years past, different than this season.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago, I kind of joked that Columbus is always around that 8-9 game, right? And I think when we checked it, they were right.
Version 1, I think, had them on the 8 line.
Yeah, probably. So great job. Coach has done a really good job, especially later on in the season. And teams that are playing well at the end are obviously really dangerous, right? Especially as the team bonds together and builds momentum. They could be a game that wins a couple of games, a team that wins a couple of games.
Let's go back to Division 1. Katie, if you can put that on the screen, Division 1 where the one seed is Hortonville. If you can put that on the screen, go back and recap that. We talked to both Marshfield's Taylor Varsho and Stevens Point's Janelle McCarville. Those schools, and in particular, and others probably do too, but we're just talking about this group right now, do a really good job still keeping within scheduling tradition of scheduling their sectional mates up and down that schedule. And I look at those schedules. A lot of these teams have already played each other. We mentioned Stevens Point will play Wausau West. They've already played. Marshfield will play Holman. They've already played. Do we think in this day and age with computerized seating, it's still a benefit to play all those sectional teams early on?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think that
it's probably. I bet you would get 2 answers if you polled a bunch of people.
Yeah. So it's a 2-pronged answer, right? If you are really interested in a high seed, which coaches want, right? You want to host games. You want to have easier path, whatever you can do. Just play the teams with the best records you can find. And that's not easy when you're trying to schedule a year or 2 out, right? But more than anything, play teams that make you better. And as a coach, depending on how strong your scouting team is, you might be comfortable not playing someone and going in kind of fresh. But there is familiarity in playing a team that you've played, even if it was back in November or December. Especially when it really helps you is when you have to go on the road. Mm-hmm. So Spash is going to Eau Claire Memorial, I believe.
If chalk holds, they would go to Memorial, and Marshfield would go to Hudson if chalk holds.
But this week, is Spash at Eau Claire Memorial?
Oh, correct. Yes, also. Yeah.
So the girls get
Tuesday.
A chance to shoot in the gym and play a game.
Yeah.
So I don't think Eau Claire Memorial is fantastically happy with how that gets set up.
Maybe not. Maybe not now.
Especially in the playoffs, nobody's allowed on the court until warm-ups start.
Yeah, there's no JV to go out there and shoot around at halftime or cheer on or sit there in the bleachers. Right, you roll out there, the buzzer goes at 6:40, and you roll out there for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, you're not allowed to step on the floor.
Correct.
So you can't get sight lines. You can't.
Correct.
You get nothing. So the home court advantage is really important. And Spash is going to have to deal with that because they're going to have a full game on that court the week before. So advantage Spash as far as familiarity is concerned. But yeah, I mean, neither team's going to show a whole lot.
And the reason for that, if for those of you are wondering, well, why is that? Well, the way that our postseason tournament is configured by the association is those are considered neutral site games. The whole tournament is considered a neutral site. And so the rules are made accordingly. Even though one school does host, it's considered a neutral site. You're no longer allowed to do some of your theatrics in the pregame, or you're not allowed. Some still do.
Yeah, you shouldn't turn the lights off and have spotlights and.
Yeah. Yep. Your PA announcer, if they say who made a shot for the host team, they need to also say the same thing for the visiting team. It gets into all this neutral site, neutral, even though one school does host. But thus the reason why you stay in the locker room, or in this case, you're behind the bleachers at 6:40, buzzer, and then off you go. It's supposed to imitate a neutral site type of event. In Division 1, we talked to these coaches, Marshfield and Stevens Point, about their playoffs not starting until 2 Fridays from now, but that's not the case for everybody. So as we look at this bracket on Tuesday, it does start in Division 1 as it does in the others. And this particular group, we still have this on screen, Katie? Okay. Appleton West is at Chippewa Falls as the 17-16. They do play number 1 seed Hortonville.
That's a long trip.
From Appleton to Chippewa?
Yeah.
Yeah, long enough. I bet that's all
for a
3.5
17-18 game or 16-17, whatever it is.
3.5 hours on the bus.
Yeah.
Something like that. But somebody's going to win, and somebody then will have their job cut out against Hortonville. And then Eau Claire North is at DC Everest next week, Tuesday. In the 15-18 game, winner there plays Hudson. And, those are, obviously, as I look at all four of those teams, I'm thinking to myself, they all struggled during the year.
Yeah.
And surely enough, there you go, 15, 16, 17, 18, and that's how you get that.
There's a reason there's a big number in front of them. Yeah. That's how brackets work, Jason.
Thank you. I'm new here, definitely new here. On the bottom half of that, we've got Neenah hosting Wisconsin Rapids Lincoln, Superior hosting Appleton East. I looked up, I'll just say we, because you know this stuff too. I looked up some information about Superior. There's talk now. This is the third year for the computerized seating, and I hope it goes on forever. So I think it's spectacular. There are some that disagree with me.
It's so much better.
It really is, and for reasons you all can't even imagine. Things that just we know happened. Superior plays, this year they played 14 teams from Minnesota. You can imagine, all right, I'm in Superior. It's 3 hours to any other civilized place in the state, or I'm exaggerating a little, but 2 hours. But it's only a half hour or 15 minutes into Duluth or just across the border. So we're going to play some of those Minnesota teams, which just makes a lot of sense. Don't want your kids on a 8-hour round-trip bus ride during the school week. And Superior was 9-5 in those games against Minnesota teams. And those are schools of all sizes. I looked through the schedule, schools with enrollments of 200 all the way up to 1,000. So they're all different sizes. And our current formula considers those games on a strength of schedule basis to be 500. To say their record was 10-10 on the year. No matter what it was, that's how it considers them in the mathematical formula as a 500 team. Reason being is, right now, this is a complicated process, and the folks at the association working at a feverish pace to get today's brackets figured out. And part of that is because of the formula, and you can imagine now if we want to give accurate representations of those Minnesota teams, we now need to go through this entire process for every team in Minnesota, every team in Michigan, every team in Iowa, every team in Illinois. There are teams in Florida that get played against. There are teams in Tennessee that get played. You can imagine this becomes, it's almost an unruly process now. I think they do have it squared away, but it's a borderline unruly process, and I don't know if unwieldy is worse than unruly, but it becomes totally unmanageable if you want to go through and grade all these other teams in the other states.
It's tough, but at the same time, when you're playing out of state, you're generally playing really quality programs. So a team like Superior went 9-5 against Minnesota. They're going to be really battle-tested. And I think the boys last year, Superior was an 8 seed. I think they were in sectionals last year.
Well, and that bracket was a wild ride.
They did beat the 16 seed
it was a wild ride, wild ride in that one. We take that long drawn out explanation here to tell you that Superior is the 6 seed along the way. Marshfield, the 7, they host Holman. We talked to Coach Varsho about that. Superior host Appleton East, another long bus ride. Anytime Superior is involved, it's a long bus ride for somebody. And then, as I mentioned before, you got Hudson hanging out over there, and they're waiting for the winner of North and Eau Claire North.
Has
and DC
Marshfield
Everest.
played Hudson this year?
Yes. Yep. That was a loss. That was in that late December swoon that they were going through. Okay. And actually, I have it here. So
it's really interesting. In Division I, everybody's kind of played each other.
Yeah, and that's where this talk began here, Dan, about these teams playing their sectional mates and have some familiarity with them.
Yeah,
as it all turns out. Kimberly, where did I leave Kimberly? Do we have that on the screen, Katie? Okay, of course we do. I just got to figure out why I'm not seeing it on my screen. There we go. So Kimberly is in the other half, as they say. Kimberly,
Sectional 2.
The 2 seed in Section 2 awaits the winner of the 15-18 game. So Kimberly likely would move on to play the winner of Menominee Falls and Hamilton. Our Kaukauna Galloping Ghosts are the 11 seed. They go to De Pere. That's a short drive.
Very short.
That's about 10 minutes on the bus if you hit traffic the right way over there. Hartford is the 3. Brookfield East is the top seed on that side.
That really sprawls. That that is definitely the eastern part of the state.
Yeah, and I remember back to my map drawing days from months ago, and I got to realize that. But yeah, it's essentially the eastern third of the state as far as Division I schools are concerned, excluding most of the Milwaukee proper and most of the Milwaukee suburbs get excluded.
Brookfield's getting pretty close, though.
Brookfield, yeah, Germantown. I mean, they're all kind of right in there. But the Lions got to go somewhere. Yeah. That's just how it all works out. Anything else in Division I? I know there's a whole other bracket that we're not going to go through today. We just don't cover those teams a whole lot. Anything else, Dan? Division I?
Yeah, I think the top seeds are probably going to make it towards the end. When I think about Hudson and I think about Neenah, those are some of the two marquee teams in the entire state. So that's a tough sectional for our local teams. Not that they can't make it to state, not that they can't keep winning, but one of the harder sectionals, I think, to get penciled into.
Speaking of Kimberly, we'll have Katie go ahead and dial up Coach Dave Listo. He was a late addition to our program here today. We'll talk to him before we talk to Assumption's Ryan Klein and Mosinee's Scott McKellips. Those three will round out our 3 o'clock hour here today.
All right.
The 3 o'clock power hour, as it turns out. That's where most of it...
The witching hour.
Most of it is. Well, the witching hour is Pittsville and Greenwood. This is going to be a couple tidy conversations.
We could have had them together. That would have been...
Put them on the conference. Nope, Dave's not answering. No, okay. Well, all right. Well, very good. We'll move on then. Perhaps he'll call back. I know Katie knows how all that works. So we'll have Ryan Klein on in about 8 minutes. Assumption Catholic's very own Ryan Klein. Tell you what, Katie, if you could, on YouTube in the video section, go ahead and download. Our very own Steve Maves was over at the watch party today and has a video for us to play during this section. So just let me know before you play it, and then we'll key it up.
They still don't have these brackets in.
Yeah, well, so in my experience, so we can go back and visit on that. So if you're just joining us, a couple of mistakes on the bracket from earlier today that were sent over from the association. They're in the middle of sorting that all out, but the mistakes had crossed divisional barriers. So what that did is that caused entire divisions brackets to be redone. And that is hours of work. So last night, that work began at 10 p.m. They likely left the office sometime around 4. So 6 hours of getting all this stuff lined up. And then, oh, my God. I mean, I could just imagine the horror. You find out at 11:30 or so that we're queued up. Okay, you find out at 11:30 or so, oh, my gosh, we got a team in the wrong division. Oh, no. I can't imagine what goes through the mind.
Yeah, and
horrible, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's a ton of work, and when there is such a large number of teams, right? A lot of things have to go right. There's a mathematical formula that goes into it. We can offer up help on this.
I've offered it.
Like, we can put eyes on it so that it makes sense, because we do have our own brackets, and we'd be interested in where we're at on that. But at least we know if there's a team missing or someone's bracketed wrong, because immediately, we were talking in a group chat that these were being announced, and all of a sudden we're like, wait a minute, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And we could tell within 5 seconds that something's wrong.
Correct. Yep. And that one was Mike Wendland, who puts in the lion's shares of work around here getting these brackets ready. And, yeah, having us in that room last night, we wouldn't have needed to stay long, hour or two. But what we would have been able to do is to have that 5 seconds later. Oh, whoa! Actually, that's a Division III team.
Yeah.
Let us help. So, Kimberly, Katie, all right. So we've got Kimberly girls basketball coach Dave Listo on the line. Coach, congratulations on a great season here so far, and I want to talk to you about your upcoming playoff challenges. But you'll need to wait a little bit as you draw the 2 seed. And you'll need to await next Tuesday's winner, and you won't begin the playoffs until 2 Fridays from now. What do you do in the meantime?
Thank you, by the way. It's funny because we do play Thursday, and then we do have a makeup.
The green one.
We do have a makeup game on.
Yep, I got you, Dave. Go ahead.
Okay. On the Tuesday of the tournament, we actually play Appleton East that day as a makeup game. So it's a little bit different. So we were talking about it today. we'll be able to stay in rhythm because it does get to be, we played the previous Thursday a long time. So I don't mind it.
You come in as the 2 seed. Caught a comment that you had online earlier today, kind of about the seed process. You said, in a years past in a coaches meeting, you would have asked for the 1. Is the 2? Is that good? Oh
yeah. I mean, a 1 or 2. Once you get, I've gone through so many of those seeding meetings as an assistant, and then as now as a head coach, it's been all computerized. I would love to see a hybrid model because I think the computer does offer, it gives the math to it. However, there are some things that sometimes the eye test doesn't quite match with the numbers. But in general, there is no perfect system when you're trying to seed a whole bunch of teams. I guess as an individual who's interested in these things, I just wish there was a little more transparency throughout the season, that we would not have a secret formula. So when we're trying to figure out where we're going to schedule, how we're going to schedule, it would just be a little bit easier in that aspect. We're in a big conference, and our conference is really good. So we're kind of locked into who we play, and who we play is really, really solid. And I think sometimes that might even hurt us in the computer's eyes. But who knows if it does, because we just don't know as coaches what that formula is exactly.
Well, Dave, here's what I'll offer. Next time you're in Stevens Point or Marshfield, come on over about an hour early, and we'll tell you everything I know about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is a hard thing to do. To try to get it done quickly, and nothing's ever going to be perfect, and it is. And like we talked with the kids, it's just something you don't have any control over. We do what we do prior to the seeding, and whatever seed we get, we're fine with, and you move on to the next opponent that you play, because we just focus on us anyway. So that's the way we look at it, and it's fine. We're going to play whoever we play.
Talking to Kimberly head coach Dave Listo. Coach, you mentioned your conference opponents. We take a look. You finished second in conference, 14-2. That's a really good season anyway. You mentioned the difficulty of your conference. What advantage is that? What does that having that really tough conference schedule do for you and your girls come playoff time?
It really helps. And for us, I feel fortunate that we actually move out of the FBA in our sectional, because you get to, when you're playing Neenah, you're playing Hortonville, you're playing Oshkosh, all these teams, multiple times, you end up just beating on each other so much. It's nice to see an opponent not familiar. And that is, it's a plus. We get tested each night. Even our conference, the last place team in our conference, Appleton West, beat a really good team like Spash. So there's never a night where we can take it off, and that jives right with going into a tournament. You cannot take off any matchup. So we're used to that, and it really helps us when tournament time comes along.
Coach, you had mentioned early in the phone call you do have 2 games to be played before the playoffs begin. If I heard you right,
yes.
What tell us about that? And is that an advantage, or is there a different world where you would rather give your girls a little bit more of a break?
I like it because we stay in rhythm. We stay into that rhythm of playing. Last week we played 3 games a week, so it even helped us. Coming up into tournament time, we'll play possibly 3 games that week if we win that first game. So it's the kids are used to playing, and we get into a rhythm of Tuesday, Friday, and then we played Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, the previous one. So it is. I'd rather stay in rhythm, stay sharp, and then be able to go into a game knowing that you haven't played a game in 9 days, and sometimes you get stale. And I'd rather be sharp than stale.
Well, Coach, we're really looking forward to it. I know I enjoyed seeing you and your girls play in Marshfield earlier this season. Best of luck this next week and into the playoffs after.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
There was Kimberly head coach Dave Listo, and got a good squad this year.
Yeah, I was looking at the numbers, right? Because Kimberly's a little bit outside of our sphere of influence for
A little bit.
for what we spend most time on.
Right.
And Kimberly is the 2 seed. They were close to Brookfield East.
They were, huh?
Yeah, but the 2 and the 3, our seed score goes down 4 decimal places between Kimberly and Hartford.
So they were in more danger of slipping to a 3 than they were climbing to the 1.
Yeah, it was all pretty close. But, one of the things that we don't talk about is Coach talked about the Fox Valley, and you play everybody twice. That is a gauntlet. That is 18 of your 24 games.
Most of them, right? You don't get a lot of other looks at teams.
Yeah, I mean, you could play, 6 outside your conference?
That's it. If you maxed out, that would be it.
Yeah, that is really tough. Kimberly, generally good year to year, right? And I don't think there's any game that is too big for them.
No, I don't think so.
So they have a good chance of really making noise.
Well, Dan, speaking of teams that are ready to make some noise, we bring in, and guess what? Another number 1 seed for the Assumption Royals, as recent years have had 2 state tournament appearances, 1 gold ball, 1 silver ball. We bring in Assumption Royals head coach Ryan Klein. Congratulations, Coach. You are undefeated to this point in the year. How have you done it?
You know what? A little bit of skill early on, a little bit of luck down the stretch.
Magic.
Here we won some close ones. Yeah, a little bit of magic. We really, it's funny. We watched our team on film from early on in the year, and we really had a special thing going. We lost our only senior to an ACL injury, and that it didn't really shake us. We kept moving forward, but there's not a lot of good that came out of that. We had another senior step up and stop managing and start playing. And now we've since had another one go down with a big injury, and we're just kind of piecing her together here. So we're not exactly the same team we were early on in the year, but still got a great squad of girls, a great group of girls that step up night in and night out. We continue to challenge each other, and we're having a lot of fun doing it.
Coach, according to the shirt that I had flown in here overnight, conference champions in 21, 22, 23, and 24, I'm proudly wearing right now. What about your path in your conference over this last 4-year stretch? How have you been able to manage that?
We had a few groups of gals there that, these juniors now came in as freshmen, and they started contributing right away. So, you've got talented girls, and they go out and win ball games. It's not a super complicated formula. These guys and the ones before them, they put a lot of time into the gym, and when they get together on the court, they're competitive. I think they a lot of the things that they do, they like to do them well. They do them humbly, but they want to do it to the best of their ability. And I think that consistent effort in everything you do makes it easy to go out and perform when you're just out there playing a basketball game.
Talking to Assumption Royals head basketball coach Ryan Klein. You do open as the 1 seed in 2 Tuesdays, and you'll face Port Edwards, who will make the 3-minute drive over to the gym in about a week and a half. But before we get there, you've got a couple of games this week. What's the strategy this week before you begin your playoff push?
Yeah, honestly, it's just survive this week. Want to be healthy. We had another one kind of go down here last week, so I don't know if Riley's going to be up for it tomorrow. So we're getting really thin, and we play 3 really quality opponents this week. So what might be a sterling record at the beginning of the week might look a little different at the end. So we'll see how it goes. I know we're asking a lot out of like Addie and Anna right now. Big minutes out of Claire all the time, and Jordan. So it's nice because we're going to be conditioning. We don't have a long rotation right now, so the girls are going to be staying in shape in these games.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Coach, I've got nearly your number one fan standing next to me in the way of Dan Ross. He's got a couple questions for you.
Hi, Coach Klein. Hey, how's it going?
Good.
Without going into details about individual injuries, are you confident that you're going to have a majority of the team back for the tournament? That's the hope?
Yeah. I mean, obviously Kendall's done for the year. She's barring a miracle. Don't see her playing, but hoping to have everyone back and healthy by the time the tournament goes here.
Good. That is really good news. That is bad news for a lot of the opponents in the brackets, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, Sarah could definitely use some prayers. I don't, she had a pretty bad ankle injury, and without, knowing the specifics of what's going on in there, she tried to practice on it, and it didn't go well. So hopefully things heal up and she's able to go. She's a remarkable player.
Yeah, she's part of the engine. Yeah, she's part of the engine that makes the team go. We talked a little bit on the court last week, maybe it was, but you have been the coach at Assumption for quite a while. You've had some deep tournament runs, obviously a lot of hardware. What would you say to the other coaches, even listening to this show, watching this show? What kind of advice can you give to your own ladies, but coaches who are maybe going through this process of the tournament for the first time?
I mean, you don't take things too seriously. You put your best foot forward, and that's all you can do. I think sometimes you get too personal with the basketball things, and maybe not personal enough with the relationships that you develop with your players and their families. I think God's a big part of everything we do at Assumption, and we thank Him, we give Him glory, we lean into Him in hard times. So praying for your players and all that is a big part of it. So whatever faith you got, lean into it and have some fun.
Coach Jason, back here, without putting you on the spot against these other teams in your section, I'll tell everybody else that, and Dan mentioned it. I mean, they are in for some hard times when the Assumption Royals are on the other bench coming in, starting playoffs. So we'll end with this. We do have a football game happening later today. I'm trying to figure a way for both teams to lose, but they're telling me that's not possible. So who do you cheer for in the game tonight?
I really feel like I'm going to be cheering for the Niners real hard, and they're going to start terrorizing the Chiefs, and then by about the time we're down 3 touchdowns or something like that, I'll start cheering for the Chiefs then. So
a true underdog story. That's what Coach is hoping for.
Right on.
We're cheering for a good game. That's what we're cheering for.
I can't even go that far, but thanks anyway, Dan. Coach Ryan Klein, best of luck this week. You got 3 games to get you ready for playoffs, and then into the playoffs the week after. Best of luck.
Thanks a bunch, fellas.
There you go. Assumption's very own Ryan Klein there, and Katie's going to bid him adieu, and then we're going to watch. Go ahead, roll it, Katie. This was in Wisconsin Rapids earlier today. Assumption Royals celebrating their number 1 seed.
You guys are next.
Somewhere in Wisconsin Rapids, and you got to see the reaction. But Dan, I meant what I said. I mean, these girls for many years now, just year after year after year, are such a tough team to beat in the playoffs.
I think a really missed opportunity in this video, and obviously Channel 9 was there, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Just outside the windows right there, rumor has it there's a hot tub that we could have Steve Maves, Coach Charlie, Klein, all in the hot tub.
The 3 dudes in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe next year.
Yeah.
Or maybe after a gold ball comes back.
Yeah.
And the Channel 9 in the pool with them. That would have been fun. Okay, well, see, again, Dan, you told me this yesterday, then we got a shot at it. So you tell me now when the moment is gone. Now, yeah, in that group, Port Edwards, Central Wisconsin Christian, Fall River, Wild Rose, Rio, Cambria, Friesland, Randolph. the Randolph Rockets but they don't have it this year. It looks pretty simple for the Royals. I know that Coach Klein is concerned about a couple of girls that are dealing with some injuries, but am I being too optimistic for them?
Randolph is going to be tough. There are some other teams bracketed in that sectional. Randolph is a big name, but Assumption would have that at home.
Yeah.
Next Friday night.
Yeah.
If you go down, we have Oakfield, and who's the 2 seed this year?
Lords is the 2. Yep.
Yeah, and those are going to be on neutral floors. So the Oshkosh West sectional final, as it is, that might be tough. I don't think that it is necessarily cut in stone that Assumption's going to go to Green Bay, but they're heavy favorites.
Well, I am an irrational optimist, and I'm wearing the shirt. So what else can I say?
Maybe minus 150.
Okay, great. All right. Speaking of pluses and minuses, we bring in probably a big hockey fan. This is Mosinee's basketball coach, Scott Melops. Coach, thanks for calling or taking our call here today on this somewhat busy Sunday. You get a seed, and you're probably going to have maybe some pizza and a Pepsi later, watching a football game. But in between, you get to talk to us. You are the 4 seed, and you get to host a playoff game next week. Tell us about that.
Yeah, that's great to be able to host. And I've been searching here and looking at our opponent for most of the morning here, and I just shows you how our season went. And up and down a little bit, but the girls played hard, and we had a good record, and we earned a home game, and we're going to enjoy it, and we're going to give it our all.
You do host the Hayward Hurricanes come in about 2 weeks. Do I have that right, Dan? Yeah, I looked at Dan. Do I have that right, Coach? Hayward?
Yeah. Okay. We got Hayward.
Yep, thank you.
Hayward, yeah.
Of course, known for all the many hurricanes that have come through northwestern Wisconsin.
Yeah.
You said you've been looking into them a little bit. What have you found out so far about Hayward?
They start 3 seniors, at least 3 seniors, so that means they got some good leadership there and some good experience. They run a little bit of zone, and they're in a decent conference, and got a couple of maybe one common opponent here, but they move the ball very well, very patient, and they just take what's given to them.
I want to talk about some of your regular season games that may have helped you prepare come playoff time. And of course, the thorn in your side this year were the Lakeland Thunderbirds, and maybe even for the last couple of years, playing teams of that caliber. What did you learn in those kind of games this season?
You got to do everything. You got to do the little things really well, and the big things even better. You don't have time to think very much when you play Lakeland, because their height sort of gets to you a little bit. And so if you got the ball down low, if you hesitate, you're done. You got to get it out. So if you got to react a little quicker and think a little faster and all the things like that, and then you got to worry about them getting up the floor, and then you got to worry about Christina going inside. You got to worry about her going outside, and you got to worry about her passing. And so they got the total package there.
Yeah, and depending on how things go, you might get another shot at Lakeland this year as I take a look at your bracket. But before we get to that talk, I'm going to turn it over to Dan Ross. He's called many of your games over the last few years, and I know he's got a question or two for you.
Yeah, hey, Coach.
Hello.
Yeah, what do you think your team has improved the most on throughout the year?
As we've learned to communicate a little bit better as far as in the full court, and then in the half court, we've gotten better. We've gotten better at sharing the basketball a little bit, looking for the extra person with the pass situation. And overall, just I think the last few weeks, just the team chemistry, the rah-rah attitude has been better. Practice has been better, a little crisper, and that's about all I got on that. So.
Yeah, and you have a big game coming up at Rhinelander this week, maybe Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah. A couple games behind Rhinelander, but what would it mean for the girls to go into, I don't know what we call it, the Hodag Dome or whatever they have going on over there? What would it mean for the girls to go into a hostile environment and come away with a big win?
It would mean a lot as far as avenging a loss and then going into the tournament with a lot of momentum. We played them here. They jumped on us early, and we fought back late, down double digits, and we had a chance to win. So this would mean a lot. We circled this one on the calendar, and I can't wait to go and play it. And Ryan does a nice job up there, and he's got a young group of girls, and we're pretty young also. So we'll see who comes out on top of this one. So I'm eager to get up there and see what they have done and to show them what we've done to get better.
All right, Coach, Jason back here again as we wrap it up with you. You've been the coach there for a while. Playoffs have sometimes looked different than what your teams looked like in the regular season. Thoughts on that, and maybe trying to carry over success here in this regular season into the playoffs.
I've noticed that there's a lot of teams that have a lot of youth. Like in our conference, there's a lot of youth coming. Like Medford's got a lot of youth. We got a lot of youth. The Rhinelander does. But the teams, I think, that have the senior leadership and stuff like that sort of have an edge on the playoffs. So that's why I'm looking at Hayward there. I think we've got to take that away from them. So they just think that, when you have your seniors going into probably their last game of the year, I think that they play a little bit harder and stuff like that. And I think just overall girls basketball, when you start in the playoff, teams have gotten a lot better. And there's going to be, I was watching the seedings today, I just noticed that some teams that are going to be going against each other, somebody's going to be a heartbreak for somebody, but there's going to be some good battles this year's in the playoffs.
Coach, as I said, we've got 2 Fridays for you until playoff time. You host the Hayward Hurricanes. Best of luck next week.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Mosinee head coach Scott McKellips. I didn't want to bring it up to Coach, but I don't think they're going to change these, but Division II is still pending. Yeah. So I hope for his sake they don't switch anything around. Well, I don't think they will.
We had it read on ours.
Well, we did, and it matched what they released earlier. So I feel think so. Confident. I think so, but it would make me nervous. It makes me nervous looking here, and we're. Again, 5 hours post-show, and we're still not quite in. I thought Division II was not the cause for concern there, but it was. At 4:15 and 4:30, our next coach calls. Greenwood will come first with Trevor Wuethrich, and then Pittsville's Jason Knott. Now, the other one we're still waiting for from the association is Division IV, and those are also still pending at this time.
Yeah, we have a good feel on it. Are we talking to Pacelli today? Pacelli?
we are not. And I meant to bring this up earlier, but I'm so excited to talk about this stuff. I skipped over one thing, so thank you for that. We invited a lot of coaches on this show, and some can't make it for different reasons or the other, but I know there was some talk from messages that had come in earlier this morning when folks saw the lineup. Well, what about my coach, or what about this coach? Well, unfortunately, your particular coach was not able to be here, and Pacelli was in that category. They're just not able to be here for one reason or the other, or be with us. Probably out playing golf.
That's actually a pretty good idea.
I mean, it's a little colder today, but there's no snow.
Yeah, Pacelli's had a great season, and I know that we're going to go the rest of the show talking Division 5 solely. Yeah,
let's do it. Start with the number 1 seed, Pacelli Cardinals. They will play the winner of Rib Lake and Three Lakes Phelps next week, Friday.
I have heard that Three Lakes was public school champion a couple of years ago.
They self-proclaimed.
Yeah, self-proclaimed.
I was there when the proclamation was made, yes. It's a true story.
I know.
That's what he said.
Yeah. We were there. Pacelli is in a really good position to make it to the regional final. A really good team, big turnaround. They have a really big game Tuesday against Assumption. Mm-hmm. And Assumption, we just heard from Coach Klein that there's major injury issues
Could be missing some pieces. Let's see here. That game is on the 15th.
When's Tuesday?
Thursday. What? The 15th? Today's the 11th. I'm looking at it wrong. On the 13th. Okay, yeah. You're right. It's been said before. I don't know what
Whenever
I'm doing.
February 13th is, at 7:15, that is when they play.
Missing some pieces are the Royals in Wisconsin Rapids on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and the one thing to understand is that these games don't mean anything besides momentum and playing time and trying to work on the things that they have to work on.
Yeah, they've already made the shirt for conference champs. Pacelli probably has too, and they've already had their seed. So there's nothing else left until the playoffs.
No. Yeah. If Pacelli were to go into Assumption and get a win, and Assumption plays tomorrow also. So they have to go to Lacrosse tomorrow.
Yep.
Tuesday, Pacelli. Thursday, I think they go to Stratford.
Yep. Finish up the conference schedule.
Thursday or Friday.
3 games in a week.
Yeah. Pacelli might be able to prove something to themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Of, you know what? We can go in, we can play with Assumption. Pacelli, a great season. They actually don't have the most difficult sectional. We have talked a little bit with some of these other coaches that they have a really tough sectional. But when you look at Pacelli, they have Athens as the 4 seed, which might be something.
Their first obstacle would be that one. Mm-hmm.
The other side is Pittsville, Greenwood.
Yep.
And that's about what you have.
That's it.
Right?
You got to navigate those, and then off you go.
And then on the other side, you're going to have Lena, or probably Sevastopol, I think, is probably the team that's going to come out of that.
Yep. And we're not of the opinion that those teams are on the level with Pacelli.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
It's so hard to know because we don't see them play a lot. But
I'm pretty sure.
Pacelli has a road in front of them where they can really take advantage. And you know what? They might win some sectional hardware this year.
Okay. Maybe. I'm saying it because I think I just said it. An appearance at the Rush Center as well. Yeah. So sectional hardware, yeah.
I did say on the show this past Wednesday that I thought Athens would get them.
You did. Yep. I'm on the Cardinals.
It's very bold.
We can go toe to toe.
Rock'em sock'em robots.
Not to get too far off track here, but I've seen a new one. Images or videos circulating online where it's just like that. But the two guys have these pins, and they've got a balloon on as the head, and you're just trying to poke the balloon, and then you win. Like fencing, I guess, kind of. We should get one of those.
That's dangerous.
We should get one. Well, that's why we should get one. That's good entertainment right there. I'm with you. Pacelli's got a favorable path. Again, Rib Lake, Three Lakes, Phelps, Loyal, Rosholt, Marion, Athens. That's how you win your regional. And then, as we said after that, it looks like it would either be Pittsville or Greenwood. We look at Edgar in that mix in the middle there. We talked to Columbus Catholic earlier. They've lost though to Greenwood twice. Edgar is down. Their main player lost during the season, and just that's why I'm with you to say their path looks pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, as if you were a coach. Any coach, and if you had the team that Pacelli had with the bracket that you had, you would feel pretty good about it. That's why I wish we were talking to him today. Yeah,
the offer was made, and it just didn't work out. And then on the Division 5 side, we talked to Ryan Klein just moments ago. His Assumption Royals have about as simple a path to state as I've ever seen.
Yeah, the other half of the bracket, Albany.
Yeah, Albany, Monticello, and Salam.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Salam play. I have. I'm not going to answer the question now, but I have seen the number 1 seed play. It just looks now again. They've got some injuries to the Royals. It looks like they're going to take some precautions, some measurements to be full ready as possible come next week Tuesday.
Yeah, their toughest game might be in the sectional semifinal, Oakfield or
the
Lords.
Oakfield Oaks.
Yeah, or Lords.
Yeah.
Again, if you can break the press and if you can score against the zone, you have a good chance to beat Assumption. The problem is that Division 5, you're asking a lot.
It's a huge if. Those are capital, bold, 3-inch headline, the whole works if. Because nobody has this year. They're 20-0.
Yeah, I think that if Assumption were to go into this tournament at full capacity, everybody's back, I think that Assumption marches their way to a gold ball. With the injuries, Coach talked about the ACL injury of the senior, and I know that Sarah's still not back, and a couple other things that are happening. Just it's a time of year where every time that a girl falls to the ground, you kind of hold your breath, right? And unfortunately, it's kind of bit Assumption here. They're gonna have a tough week, but you know what? Even if you rested everybody this week, what difference does it make if you're 21-3 and 24-0 going to the tournament? You're the 1 seed. It's all in front of you.
Yeah, the gold ball and the trophy case is what people remember. They don't remember that last this kind of strange middle week.
Yeah.
Middle of nowhere, no man's land week. They don't remember
that. It
that.
really doesn't mean anything.
Let's see, Dan. We're pretty confident. We didn't get to talk about Division II because those seats have not been quite
this looks good enough.
Minted. But if you could, I'm going to do a costume change. You can go through that with the folks. We just did talk to Mosinee's Scott McKellips, who's the 4 seed in that group.
Yeah, absolutely. Mosinee, Coach McKellips talked about hosting the Hayward Hurricanes. I think that might have been the Muskies a long time ago. And I think
they've got the world's largest muskie.
They do. They have a giant muskie right downtown. Menominee is the 1 seed. Menominee's really good. They're a big Rivers team. They're battle tested. They have the Eau Claire Memorial. They have New Richmond. They have all those teams in there. Lakeland as the 2 seed, opposite Mosinee. So Mosinee is going to be happy that they don't have to see Christina Omed again, but instead they're going to get Menominee in the regional.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's an advantage.
No, it probably isn't. Lakeland has Rice Lake. The Merrill Blue Jays.
Yeah.
I think they were a 6. I think they were a 7.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember.
Okay, but they'll whatever they are, they will host a Tuesday game.
Yep.
Next week.
Looks like against Ashland, and then they go to Lakeland, and that's going to be a really tough game. Lakeland's really good, but between Menominee, Lakeland, Rice Lake, 3 really good teams. I think it could be any one of those 3. The problem is that in the sectional final you get to play Notre Dame, and that's probably where the season ends.
Yeah,
because Notre Dame's really good.
Oh, so good, and that's a team that I thought you put in Division I, and they're still talked about as a favorite in Division I. That's just how good they are. Tough in Division II, though.
Yeah, last year my Lakeland T-Birds made it to state, and kind of a weak sectional. I think they beat Menominee at the buzzer.
Okay,
maybe
with 3 Womets, mom and 2 daughters, 3.
Yeah, and it was a controversial ending because there was a whistle. There was something right at the buzzer.
Yep, you're right.
I think it was in Medford, actually.
That could be.
Yeah.
Things like that happen in Medford for some reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was something that the time started late or something. I don't remember exactly what the situation was, but Lakeland went to state. They lost in the state semifinal, and Menominee in their half sectional this time. And again, Notre Dame got brought into this, which almost feels like they tried to pull someone from pretty far away to get away from somebody else, maybe. I'm not that familiar with Division II, but Notre Dame is quite a ways compared to some of these other teams. So, yeah.
Okay. We've been waiting for a while. I can wait no longer. Let's move on to our next coaches. We're about 5 minutes ahead of schedule, which is fine because there's still a lot of day left out there for everybody.
We have things to do.
We do have some things to do, but
2 coaches left.
2 coaches left, and it has been something that we have been looking forward to for the last few weeks. We put version 1 out almost 2.5 weeks ago. Coming up on 3 weeks, and these 2 have been staring down the barrel at each other. And we move now to Division 5, where we will talk to Greenwood head coach Trevor Wuethrich. Coach, congratulations on a fantastic season. Let's just start with that before we get in the playoffs. A second-place finish, something that Greenwood has not seen the likes of in more than 25 years.
Well, gentlemen, thanks for having me, and yeah, what a great season, and just happy to be here.
Okay, and here you are, and there you'll be on Saturday. Not not only are your season accomplishments really good, they've got your 3 seed in the playoffs, but before you get there, you're actually in a second-place crossover game on a Saturday, right, in prime time, coming up this week on Saturday. Tell us about looking forward to that game.
Well, we've actually, if Owen Withy beats Gilman on Tuesday, we have a tiebreaker.
Oh boy!
And it goes like the tiebreaker is like, I think there's like 7 tiebreakers, and we're at like number 5. And depending on their score, first half scores, that we're either playing in the 3rd place game against most likely Regis, or we got Fall Creek on Saturday, depending on how Owen Withy fares on Tuesday.
Well, either way, finishing at near the top, or we'll just say at that, right, the top third of the conference.
Right.
When did you start thinking that this group is pretty special this year?
Realistically, we talked about a 500 conference record early on in the season, and it was I think honestly after that Abbotsford game winner, and then we followed that up with a win at home against Pacelli, and I think at that point we all started to believe each other and trust each other, and we just got it rolling, and it's just been a heck of a year.
Talking to Greenwood head coach Trevor Wuethrich, Jason Zaleski here. Dan Ross, I have a couple questions for you here in just a moment. You mentioned the Abbotsford game. I mean, that's a buzzer beater from half court, and then you beat Pacelli, who has been an outstanding team all season. Matter of fact, they've got 1 loss on the year.
That's their only loss.
That was because of you and your girls, and then in conference. So we're talking about that 10-4. I see now. Yeah, you're right. Owen Withy sitting at 9-4 with that game to play, but 10-4 and has culminated in the 3 seed come playoff time. We talked a lot about you in Pittsville. We're going to talk to Pittsville's Jason Knott coming up after this, but just the thoughts on entering the playoff season as the 3 seed.
Yeah, we talked about this, and 10 years has coached Greenwood girls basketball since '99, and took the Greenwood girls to state in 2000. But I don't. In my 14 years of being around girls varsity basketball, I don't think we ever hosted a playoff game in the last 14 years. So
it's crazy.
I mean, that's a 9 seed or lower, and here we come in at a 3 seed, and host 2 games for sure, hopefully, and it's just when you think about it in that aspect, it's pretty phenomenal.
We took a look at some final numbers between you and Pittsville, and it's a case study that we had that we published some of that online, and I had mentioned earlier in this show, to my untrained eye, looking at the math last week, it really looked like you had enough juice to get past Pittsville to that 2 line, which is important. If you were to get that far, you would host that regional final. And we took a look at things like your opponents have a winning percent of .519. Opponents you've beat have a win percent of .434. That's the bulk of that strength of schedule portion of that formula. Both of those marks are better than Pittsville's. It turned out Pittsville had a little bit better win percent and likely some other things that were in that formula. But really, really razor thin. It came down to almost 4 digits to the right of the decimal point between the two of you. So just if you're a math nerd, and I guess maybe I am, it's really fascinating to watch. Begin the playoffs next week on Tuesday. You'll host Elko. What today do you know about the Elko squad?
Not too much. I really didn't want to look too far into it until today. Before we got some film and started looking at our path and who we need to be preparing for. So, I'll probably look at some film later tonight on Elko, and then I see our game after that is a potential third time for Columbus, and obviously I don't have to look at a lot of film. I know Eric and his girls really well, so. One good thing is we'll have them at home, which we've been playing fantastic in Greenwood. So, just looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, just 10 points between those two games separate Columbus Catholic and Greenwood. Coach, I've got Dan Ross with me. He's got a couple questions for you.
Yeah, I got two questions for you, Coach. First, how has the community really rallied around the girls this year?
Oh, it's been great. Coaching in the COVID era, when we were allowed 2 people per player in the gym. And then even following that up with, a 5-20 season, wasn't much better. A lot of supportive moms in the crowd. And we've been playing with full gyms continually in Greenwood. And, it's fun to see. It just, if that doesn't get you fired up to play, I don't know what will.
Yeah. And my other question kind of around that is, You've had the girls a couple years, and there's been some tough seasons. Now, all of a sudden, fortunes have kind of reversed here. How much more fun are the girls having this year compared to last year, for example?
Well, it's a 180. Winning is fun, right? And but I think it was to the girls for being they put the time in. We played a lot of summer ball this summer. And they were willing and able to do that. And being from a school district of 112 kids, it's tough to, they're also on the softball team and the volleyball team. And, we got to share each other. But, they put the time in and they, benefit from that, reap those rewards from putting that time in. So, I give all the credit to them just for that reason. They put so many hours into this season, and it's paying dividends right now.
Coach Jason Beck, we'll let you off with this one. You've got a week without a game until it's decided what place you are in your conference where that crossover will be. So what that means is, Tuesday Owen Withey plays. What are the chances that people can see Coach Trevor Wuethrich in the gym and Owen Withey on Tuesday?
Oh, well, probably a pretty good chance, right?
Yeah, excellent. Well, Coach, best of luck in your crossover game and as playoffs begin next week.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, good luck.
There he was, Greenwood Indians head coach Trevor Wuethrich. What a season we've been watching them. I finally made it to my first game, like I said last week, seeing them in person, but you and I have been watching them. Yeah. It's been something.
Yeah, a really exciting season. They had one of the best finishes of a game this year. What the softball throw from half court.
Turn and throw and girl in tears afterwards because she was just so happy that her team won. It wasn't about herself. It was that the team we beat Columbus Catholic. We did it as a team and yeah, it was probably about as far as she could throw the ball. Probably farther than I could throw the ball. I'm going to look up that name here real quick because I want to see if I remember it. But, man, I'll tell you, if I could remember every roster in the state, that would be something. Yeah. But I think if I see it, I'll probably catch it here right away. And I'm pretty sure that was Brittany Waldy who made that shot. And, she told our Joe Anderson in that post-game interview that after she made it, I cried a little as it was going through. I would, too. That's amazing. Yeah, and then to turn around almost, within a couple of days and beat Pacelli, beat the Cardinals. What a run! And
that's probably the biggest win of the year by anybody. Looking at that's Pacelli's only loss of the entire season. Like that's an incredible win.
It's probably the single biggest win in Division 5.
Yeah.
For those now, we heard from Coach Wuethrich, of course. He said that was about the time that he figured out and the girls figured out we maybe have something here because you need one of those catalyst moments like that in the season. It came early, but they've been able to ride it since then. It's been really fun to watch.
Yeah, Greenwood wasn't on the radar.
Well, because what we just talked about, there hasn't been much to talk about in 25 years over that way. Yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been much now. I can't stop talking about him now. And really, it's one of those deals. We're going to talk to Jason Knott here from Pittsville in just a couple of seconds. And, these are two teams that I'm a fan of. And yet it looks like they may play each other soon. And I'm going to lose one of my favorite teams. That's tough for me.
Yeah, it really is. I I would love to have seen a Pittsville Greenwood game at some point this year. So I mean, we don't play favorites here at Zaleski Sports.
Yeah, usually not.
But I would really like to see that game. Now, nothing against Columbus Catholic. If Columbus Catholic beats Greenwood in that second round, then that's a great game also. But seeing the 2 and 3 in a regional final is always good. Always good times.
Always is. And with that, we will now talk to the 2 seed. This is Pittsville Panthers head coach Jason Knott. Let's start right there, Coach. The 2 seed, you got it by the skin of your teeth over Greenwood. And if you get that far, that lets you host that regional at home. Thoughts on the 2 seed?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. You know, I know this may sound disingenuous, but, you know, once you get into the playoffs, the other than the hosting piece, which I think can also lose some of the impact, you know, it's the finality of the playoffs that really makes a lot of those seeds irrelevant. You know, teams are playing, it's win or go home, and a lot of teams are seeing each other for the second or third time. So certainly appreciative. You know, the kids put in a lot of hard work this season to get to that 2 seed, but we're just excited to finish out the season. I think we're playing pretty well right now. We're going to finish out the season, then go into the playoffs. And I also don't get caught kind of looking too far down the road, because if you're looking too far down the path, you're going to end up tripping over something right underneath your feet here. So it's going to be one game at a time in the playoffs.
I think somewhere along the way, Coach, that's why I decided to do what I do. That way I can talk about those kind of things, and it's a lot of fun on this side of it too. Let's talk about the way that your season has been finishing, and I want to go back to last week on Tuesday, and you had to, on the wrong end of a buzzer beater over at Pacelli. Turned out to be the first place team in your conference, but then you turned tragedy to triumph, and a few days later beat Wild Rose. Talk about the wild ride you had last week.
Yeah, we've had a gauntlet of a schedule here over the last couple of weeks. I'm impressed with how the kids have handled it. That was, you know, I made a comment after the Pacelli game last week that it was a great high school basketball game. It's unfortunate, you know, one of the teams had to walk off the court losing, but that's sports for you. But great defensive battle, lost it on a buzzer beater. And, you know, for a moment, I was mildly concerned how the kids might turn around for the Friday game against Wild Rose, who's a really, really nice basketball team. And all season long, when we've had kind of those dips, the kids have responded quickly and came back, and we went out and competed. You know, defense is our calling card and has been all season. When you can play strong defense, you're going to be in most games. And I think that's been the case for the season for us. Even in our 4 losses, you know, we've been tied or within 3 points close to the end of the game, have been able to pull some above it, but our defense kind of carries us.
Coach, you got an interesting game tomorrow. You travel up to Athens, and that's a team in the same side of the section you are, just in a little bit different bracket as the 4 seed. What are you looking forward to in Athens tomorrow night?
Well, I think, you know, despite it being after the stadium meeting, they're in the bracket on the other side. But I'll tell you what, they're a really good basketball team. They're very physical. And these are the types of games that get you prepared to go into that playoff basketball. So we're excited to go up there and also playing on the road in a tough place to play. But, yeah, they have an inside-outside threat, and, you know, Poker is very strong underneath. So we're looking forward to the matchup. And then, you know, these are the games. This is how you get better and get ready for the playoffs. So we're looking forward to it.
And if I have it right, Coach, 3 games this week. Thoughts on that? Playing kind of a busy week before playoffs start. Maybe not a lot of chance for rest. How do you think about this coming week?
You know, that when we had to reschedule the one game that was canceled, Mark Denniston, our athletic director, and I talked about it. And the way we looked at it was, you know, at this point in the season, it's not like we're running 2.5-hour practices. Where we're getting into a lot, you know, you're either conditioned or you're not at this point in the season. And I think we've been able to do a pretty good job. You know, we go 9 deep, and we have a lot of kids that step up and play. So we did talk about that briefly, but we felt like, you know, knowing that we're on the home stretch here, we were okay with having 3 games this week.
Talking to Pittsville Panthers head coach Jason Knott. Coach, I've got Dan Ross next to me. He's got a question or two for you.
Yeah, Coach.
Sure.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
When did you realize that you had something really special this year?
Well, it's kind of ironic you asked that because I was asked that question in the the preseason interview. Folks said, "Are you surprised?" I think was the question. I don't remember if it was Gene that asked me that. I felt it this summer when we were in the summer league up in Weston and at Team K. I kind of felt like we had something special. We had the components on this team to be successful. I know we kind of flew under the radar for most of the season. We kind of like that. We go in with the mentality of that underdog mentality, and once again, defense is our calling card. But I know people may not believe it, but early in the summer, kind of felt like we had the components to have something special here with this group of girls.
Yeah, and for the viewing audience that have not seen Pittsville yet this year, what do you think is the biggest strength that you have that's going to propel you throughout the tournament run here?
So I think we're very versatile. I would tell you, with Reese Grimm and Brooke Grossman, our two guards up front on defense are two of the strongest defenders in the conference, and they're elite level defenders. That certainly helps. We have a post presence, and what we're able to do is we're able to go small or big to match up with other teams, and many times in the same game. And I think that's a really neat option for us to have, that we can kind of experiment with things, or we can match what the other teams are doing without having a huge drop off as far as, just with that depth that we've used at various times throughout the seasons. And some games, honestly, we may only go 7 deep, but in a lot of our games, we've went 9 deep, and we're just able to do a lot of different things. And when you play, I don't say it just as a cliche, is like when you play good defense, you're going to be in games. I mean, in our games that we've been in, many of the games we've been in, we've shot in the teens for a shooting percentage, and still we've either won or, lost close games in the teens. Pacelli's averaging 71 points a game, and we held him to 41 points last week in that game, and we shot 5 of 30 from 3 that night, or 6 of 30 from 3 that night. It just, our defense is what's going to carry us. Because I told the girls, the big thing I would tell you, you get into the playoffs, you're not going to see these 70 to 65 games. They're going to be slugfest. There are going to be a lot of teams that are evenly matched, and that defensive piece. And I feel like we have strong defenders at some of the key positions. We got a shot blocker in Brent Friday once, if they do get past that top level. We got some very strong defenders and elite level defenders. And Reese is someone who can put the ball in the basket in many different ways. And every team needs that. When you're struggling with shots, she's shooting 45% from 3 on the season. It's nice to have someone who can put a ball in the basket, but we got a lot of other kids that can score as well.
Coach Jason Zaleski back here. We'll let you off with this one. I take a look back to playoff action now. Look at your quadrant, the other 3 with you. Iola Scandinavia, who is your first-round matchup next week, Tuesday. Edgar and Newman Catholic. How do you feel you stack up with those other 3?
Yeah, we saw Iola earlier in the season. I have not, I'll be honest with you, I haven't even had a chance, just with the seeds coming out today, to, I've followed just Edgar with scores as I see them come through. I haven't had a chance to look at either one of them on film yet, but that'll be something we approach as we get going here. But I guess I would go back. You're probably tired of hearing it with we focus on our defense, and I feel like, we're going to go. We don't do a lot different when we scout teams. We just kind of do our thing. We go out, and I don't mean that to sound arrogant, because it certainly isn't, is we just do our thing. We do like to know some tendencies teams have and stuff, but I'll get to breaking down tape for those matchups here probably tomorrow.
As Coach said, it's a rematch from November 28th. That was a 65-24 win at Iola. This time the T-Birds come to Pittsville. Coach, best of luck in the playoffs next week.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me on.
65-24, Dan. That's a big score.
Yeah.
Early in the year, 3rd game, big score.
Yeah, really good news for the Pittsville Panthers is that film is on Zaleski Sports for Edgar and Newman Catholic.
Advantage, right? Yeah. I'm sure Coach is still listening. If not, I know there's a whole horde from Pittsville that are listening, and they're scrambling right now to their favorite YouTube channel, which of course is Zaleski Sports. It's a really interesting, Division 5, or a really interesting half a region right there. Half section, a full region. Yeah,
I mean, all of these teams are in the area or close to our area.
Yeah.
I do have a good Elko story.
Okay.
I might have said it on the air at some point. It could have been during a marathon game, as sometimes late in those games, It's just not very close.
Yep, you got to hold the audience.
Yeah. So I went up to scout Elko. They had a really good season a couple years ago, and I went up there to scout them for sectionals. And first of all, I got there an hour late because the time was just wrong everywhere, and that happens actually kind of often.
So a 6 o'clock tip instead of a 7 o'clock tip, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I walk in, and there's 2 minutes left in the first half. There's three rows of seats, right? So it's a small gym.
Yep.
And I sit down, and I actually brought my wife, and we're in the stands, and it's halftime, and the curtain opens, and the band is playing, right?
Yep.
Because there's no place for the band to sit.
Yeah, where would they go? Yeah.
So they're on the stage, like a lot of these rural D5 schools have stages.
Yep.
And it opens up, and they play 2 songs, and they were rock songs, like they weren't like the normal pep band stuff. Mm-hmm. And then the curtains closed, and like you could still hear them playing. And then they stopped, and I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Kind of like the Muppets.
Sort of, yeah. Sort of.
Yeah, Animal on the drums and everything else going on there. Yeah, I'm really looking for, Dan, let's end with this because we've all got stuff to do. Like we said, there's some football game that's starting in an hour that I just couldn't care about, but I'm going to watch it anyway because I know there's a lot of fans, a lot of newly minted Kansas City Chiefs fans.
You'll be paying attention to an app or something?
Be paying attention to my weenies and barbecue sauce.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll be paying, or my veggie tray.
Yeah.
Be paying attention to that kind of stuff. But you mentioned this earlier. We get to talk about it. We get to kind of relish it like a pig. We're kind of rolling around in the mud right now, having the time of our lives until next week Tuesday, and then one by one, all of our friends leave us.
Yeah, it's sad.
Like I said, Greenwood and Pittsville, both my friends. I'm going to lose one. Seemingly, right? Or Columbus is my friend. Edgar is my friend. I mean, they're all my friends, and only one can get out of there.
Yeah. And
at the end, in the Resch Center in Green Bay, only one gets to hold the trophy. I sure hope that's my friend.
It would be nice, wouldn't it?
Well, yeah, you get to feel you're kind of a small, little, tiny part of it.
Real quick.
Yeah.
We haven't looked at the brackets a whole lot, and I'm not gonna ask you for sectional champs or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't have that ready.
But just seeing the teams play and who we have locally, who do you think 1-2 names maybe that have a chance to make it to Green Bay and maybe hoist hardware? Does it start and end with Assumption?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that seems to be a really good. Just a really good choice in that way, and there's facts to back that up. But yeah, really good choice as far as Assumption's concerned.
Maybe a dark horse in like a Neilsville.
I'll give a dark horse, okay. And that's the 4 seed in Division I, Section 1, and that's the Eau Claire Memorial Old Abe's.
Okay.
They're a 4 seed. I think that qualifies as a dark horse. I think they got a real chance. I really do. It's been a team. They were in a sectional game last year. I think they're a little bit better this year. I think maybe the field isn't quite as good as last year. I feel strong about the Old Apes. Beyond that, I have no other answers. I need to. I still have 2 whole divisions I don't have a bracket for.
Yeah, we don't even know who Neilsville's playing.
I have no idea. Yeah,
I might have been on the phone with you when Division 4 even came out. I'm not sure. I have no idea who. Neilsville's a 1 seed. Is that?
I did. I saw the flash of a screen. They were the 1 seed.
Okay.
Their route is a little bit tough. A little bit.
Do they have McDonald?
Well, they're in that mix. Okay. There are some others.
Phillips too.
Yep, Phillips is in that group. They've got a tougher. I mean, we're talking about champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I wouldn't put them ahead of the other 2 names I gave.
Well, the brackets supposedly came out 5 hours ago, so.
Yep.
We continue
40% of them,
refresh.
or 60% of them did. 60% are official. The other 40% we await here in Central Wisconsin at 4:35 p.m. I know they're doing their level best. I really absolutely know that. And we're let's end where we started. Let us help. Let us help. We're not that far away. We're just down the road. We're not that far away. Let us help. Maybe just for an hour, but we can come in there and help iron it out before it goes out.
We could be there in 5 minutes, literally.
Yeah, wouldn't take long. Especially on a Sunday, there's hardly any traffic. So
let's talk about the schedule this week real quick.
You want to?
Yeah.
Do you know it, or you want me to say it?
Well, you can.
Okay.
Wednesday we have our live show.
Yes, Wednesday 4 o'clock. We'll be right here.
Yep. And then next Sunday we'll be here again.
Yeah.
With boys coaches.
Boys coaches, a week, or now less than a week away, technically.
Yeah.
6 days, 22 hours. Who's counting? Okay, yeah, that's what's coming up. Boys basketball on Monday. That's tomorrow, and then we'll sign this off. Actually, we've got a boys-girls doubleheader at Loyal as Alma Center Lincoln takes to the floor against the Hounds. Boys start first at 5:45. Girls tip thereafter. And boys basketball in Eau Claire County, Chippewa Falls at Eau Claire Memorial. Those are the Monday games. So
sounds good.
A trio of games for you. So Super Bowl coming up next. Not on this channel.
No.
Have a good night, everybody.